COVID-19 is one of the most controversial events of our time. New reports suggest that the pandemic may not have been an accident, but part of a larger planned operation. The question remains, was this a deliberate act or an unfortunate accident? Yet the evidence at hand paints a clear picture. But before I dive into this highly sensitive topic, I warmly welcome you on my YouTube channel. And if you would like to stay informed about the energies that are important for you every week, feel free to subscribe to my free newsletter and stay connected with me through Telegram and Instagram, where I post daily updates. And you find all the links directly below this video. For a long time, people speculated, what is the true origin of COVID-19? Was it really engineered in a lab? And if so, why? Or did it develop naturally, jumping from animals to humans through an intermediate host? Now we know the truth. Before I get to who orchestrated it all, make sure to watch this video until the end, because what I'm about to share is critically important. A recent report from the US Congress, published just days ago, reveals that COVID-19 originated from a lab in Wuhan. The Wuhan Institute of Virology, a high-security laboratory, played a central role in the emergence of the virus. What makes this even more alarming is that there are reports indicating that researchers from the Wuhan lab exhibited symptoms of COVID-like illnesses months before the official outbreak in December 2019. These findings come from intelligence agencies who had access to medical reports and internal documents from the lab. Another crucial point is the so-called gain-of-function research that was conducted at the Wuhan lab. This involves genetically modifying viruses to increase their transmissibility or virulence. The goal of such research is to simulate potential pandemic scenarios and develop countermeasures in advance. However, critics have warned for years that these experiments are extremely risky and could have catastrophic consequences in the event of a lab accident. Who funds such research and why? It is becoming increasingly clear, and even a senior Dutch government official has admitted this, that the projects at the Wuhan lab were supported by American research funds, channeled through the US-based organization Eco Health Alliance. Why is such research being conducted, and what is the purpose behind it? The world has the right to know the truth, because only by understanding the causes of the pandemic can we prevent something similar from happening in the future. SARS-CoV-2, the virus behind COVID-19, exhibits genetic features that have sparked controversy since the beginning of the pandemic. One of these anomalies is the so-called furin cleavage site, a mutation that enables the virus to more easily penetrate human cells. And these mutations in SARS-CoV-2 are atypical for natural evolution, clearly indicating that the virus was manipulated in a lab. important information about the origins of COVID-19 was deliberately withheld. But now everything is coming to light. The Chinese government heavily restricted access to data from the Wuhan lab and allowed international researchers only limited opportunities to investigate. Scientists who published critical information were censored, and some disappeared entirely from the public eye. The Wuhan Institute of Virology has been criticized for years for lacking adequate safety protocols. Reports indicate that the lab repeatedly violated international standards for biological safety. And what about the US-based organization EcoHealth Alliance, which played a key role in funding the Wuhan lab? EcoHealth Alliance, funded by US taxpayer dollars, directed resources to the Wuhan lab to support risky gain-of-function research. And like I told, this type of research involves deliberately altering viruses to achieve specific results, often with significant risks. But it doesn't stop there. Even the development of the COVID vaccinations reveals surprising connections to the military. According to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the U.S. Department of Defense, also called DoD, was deeply involved in the development and production of the mRNA vaccinations. Pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer or Moderna acted merely as brands, while the actual control and funding came directly from the DoD. This raises new questions about who truly controlled the development of the vaccinations and why. These entanglements show that the United States bears significant responsibility for this project. According to statements from the Netherlands, many countries effectively handed over control of their COVID response to NATO. Even more alarming is the fact that the population was neither informed nor consulted. And the Dutch MP, Fleur Agema, summed it up perfectly when she described the events during the pandemic as a coup. NATO set the guidelines for COVID responses and coordinated strategic communication. And these directives were distributed through the foreign ministers of member states. Many believe this explains why Sweden, which only joined NATO this year, pursued a more relaxed policy during the pandemic. Back in the year 2022, Willem Engel, the chairman of Verheet, made similar revelations during his trial in Rotterdam, where he was accused of incitement. Engel gave a detailed account of how governments used military methods to map, suppress, and disrupt critics of COVID policies. This raises the critical question of how much control national governments actually had and what interests were truly being served. It was quite clear a military program. In the Netherlands, it was recently revealed that COVID measures, including lockdowns, vaccinations, and the introduction of a digital vaccine passport, were based on NATO directives. These measures were coordinated by security agencies like the Dutch NCTV, which received strategic instructions from NATO. Yes, you heard that right, from NATO, a military defense alliance. The information I'm sharing here comes in part from the US Congressional report and statements from senior government officials in the Netherlands, all of which you can verify for yourself. These revelations show that COVID was not merely a public health emergency, but part of a military and geopolitical strategy that extended far beyond medical considerations. And as we all know, any public criticism was suppressed, and scientists who knew more and sought to bring the truth to light disappeared from the public eye. Meanwhile, in the United States, plans for so-called green zones were published. These specialized quarantine zones were intended to isolate high-risk individuals far from their communities. At the same time, concepts for digital IDs were developed, linking freedom of movement to proof of vaccination. Critics fear that such technologies could be used long-term to curtail personal freedoms. COVID-19 has not only claimed millions of lives, but has also shaken trust in scientific institutions, governments, and global organizations. Who is responsible, and how can we ensure that such research is conducted transparently and safely in the future? The strategies and technologies introduced during the pandemic will likely endure beyond the crisis. It is worth recalling the original pandemic plan that existed for years, and this plan emphasized maintaining the free movement of population under all circumstances, without lockdowns or mandatory measures. However, with the introduction of Bill Gates' Event 201, everything changed. The absurdity of lockdowns became clear later when it was revealed that the vaccines neither prevented infections nor stopped transmissions. From digital IDs to quarantine zones, there is substantial evidence that these systems could become part of a broader long-term surveillance network. What began as emergency measures could lay the foundation for a permanent restriction of personal freedoms. It is now time for COVID to be thoroughly investigated and for the truth to be fully revealed. What has long been in the air is now increasingly supported by evidence. Yet, as these revelations come to light, it is crucial not to remain stuck in anger or helplessness. Instead, we must use this understanding to ensure that such events never happen again in this way. We must stay vigilant and above all understand that the true power lies within us. The negative intentions of others are truly irrelevant when you remain in your own power, your own high energy. By keeping our consciousness clear and strong, we can not only shape our own lives, but also positively influence the world around us. And it is really, you create your own reality by your beliefs. So thank you so much for listening, and share this video with others. And do not forget, I love you.